Alright, let's get started. This is my 1cc of Blue Revolver Hyper Mode. I guess the reason I wanted to do this commentary is because, well, first I was watching the replay, and my instinct was, boy, I really need to explain what's going on here, because it looks bad. The second thing is, I was thinking about it, and I thought, what if I were going to do a commentary track, what would be like the value added, right? There's a million commentaries of their 1cc's uploaded, but I thought this was kind of interesting because I'm not a super skilled player, as will quickly become evident from my play, but I was still able to power through and beat this game. It's not a super hard one, but it's definitely not easy. So I thought it would be kind of fun if I just kind of went through and maybe gave a kind of a Blue Revolver for people who aren't very good at video games guide. So there's not really much to say for the first level. One thing I will say that's really important is you got to engage with the scoring system in this game. Typically when I do like survival runs first, and then if I'm interested, I'll go for score. But in this game, going for score and engaging with the system at least a little bit is extremely helpful. You're going to end up with a lot of extends and a lot of bombs. So I would really encourage people, if they're interested in getting a 1cc of this game, even if you're not going to be a pro top level score monster, engage with the score system a little bit, kind of get used to how it works, get into it a little bit, because it's going to give you a lot of extends. This game is kind of lousy with extends. I was pretty surprised, but once you get used to the extends and the bombs and the kind of the loop that you have where bombs give you extends, and then new lives give you more bombs to get more extends, it becomes kind of fun. So that's kind of the secret. If you really want to get through this, you can kind of, if you do well enough with scoring, and I'm not going to get a super high score, but if you do well enough with scoring, you can really kind of bash your face through this and it's going to be a butt ugly 1cc. I'll tell you right now, you get a little hairy at the end as well, but I did get the one credit clear, and I think pretty much anybody can, as long as they come into it with the right mentality. So we're coming into the second stage. The first stage was pretty simple, kind of getting used to it. The second stage, honestly, isn't that much more tough. I'd say the game really starts to get interesting to me in stage 3. But this is a pretty good place to kind of engage with the mechanics, because there's a lot of breaks in this game. And breaks are kind of interesting because they're fun little things that you can do to get extra points and get more extends. And if you're like me, you're going to want to get as many extends as you can, and you want to go for the easy breaks. So you've seen me do a few, and I'll talk about more as it goes on. But again, this is kind of a chill stage. I'm just racking up my counter and getting my gold medals right now. So the break here, you want to get all the turrets before you kill it. That's a really easy one, so I'd recommend people go for that. And this second one, I didn't know about this for a while, but until I read the break guide. But if you leave this jet fighter looking thing alive and just kind of ignore it, wait till it gets to the end of its pattern, then you can just quickly just knock it out and get a free break. 1,000,000 points, not bad. Pretty easy to do, so I would recommend, if you're going through this, definitely take advantage of this easy one right here. Got my break, got my 1,000,000 points, 1,000,000 medals, nice. This break is also easy and pretty fun. You just have to kill the turrets by matching the colors. So you'll kill 2 blues, 2 greens, 2 whites, and you'll kill the ones in the back, and then get the middle. You get that break. And the 2 turrets in the middle don't matter, so you can just do what you need to do with those. We got our bomb, which I'm definitely going to use. I'd say this boss is still pretty easy. Um, and I guess I'll talk about the ship choice. So, well, that was a terrible death. So anytime I die, just imagine that I'm managing rank and do something stupid. That's right there when I was playing. I looked away from the screen. You know, don't do that. But you know, if anybody asks, I was managing rank. Yeah, so I picked the ship. I usually like to do the wide shots. But if you have options in games, I usually go for the wide shot. And then this sub weapon is just stupid, especially for survival. It pierces, it does a lot of damage, it's pretty easy to keep the ammo with it. It's a good time. And then I'd say last, and probably the biggest reason that I stick with D is because my daughter likes to play this game, and D's her favorite character. So I just kind of, you know, play D because, you know, it makes me smile to think that my daughter's favorite character is D. Alright, stage 3, this is a fun one. I really like this stage. This is where the stage gets a lot of, or the game gets a lot of fun for me. And I will say this in no small part due to the incredible music in this game. Especially this stage right here. I love this FM slap bass that's going on. I just love it. That's one of my favorite sounds. I like FM synthesis. Probably going to talk more about the music in this than most people will. But I think music's kind of an important part of these games. More important than people give credit for, I think. There's a lot of times in this game where you can see that the developers took a lot of care to make sure that whatever's happening on the screen will sync up with the music. And that really adds a lot to the game. There's certain points where it really just jumps out and grabs you, and it really kind of helps you get super engaged with it. I don't want to talk about the music the whole time because I could talk about the music the whole time. But, you know, I really like this stage and the music. So this part's kind of fun. I like this. It kind of reminded me of... There's a few things in this game that reminded me of like old, like Batsugun or something. I know it's not a lot like Batsugun, but there's certain times like this, going up the ship and blowing off the pieces of it reminds me of it. There's some certain enemies that, you know, when I play Batsugun, there's a couple of enemies in that game that drive me absolutely nuts because they seem like they have maybe just like 20% too much health. And there's definitely a bunch of enemies like that in this game. You just kind of have to learn to deal with them and get around them. But yeah, I like this stage a lot. I think it's really engaging. This is really when I started to say, oh, okay, I really like this game. This is an easy break. You just get the 4 doodads on the side before you get the middle, and most breaks are some variation of get the side doodads before you get the middle doodad. But if you do that, you get a 1-up too, which is very helpful. So at this point I had 4 extends, and this is where I start looking down on my lives that, oh, I have 4 extends, that's a lot of extends. And then I start thinking about it, and then once I start thinking, the trouble follows. This part's a lot of fun. I think it's definitely a lot easier with the wide shot. The break in this section is you gotta get 80%. And all those little goobers going left and right really quickly. Yeah, they're a lot easier to get with the wide shot. These little square guys that open up, you can kind of milk them for the enemies that come out, but I was just trying to stay alive in this one. You've probably seen it before, but those kite shapes, big guys, you can actually blow off the wings before you blow the middle, and you can get 3 batches of medals, gold or whatever, which are really nice. And yeah, I kind of do stupid stuff like that where I don't really rely on focus fire a lot, not as much as I should. The wide shot's pretty pathetic, even with the tiny damage boost that you get from this sub weapon. But yeah, you can see I've already hit the 80%. I'm gonna get my nice break, easy. And then this was the first boss that I actually had to lab it out. I don't think this isn't an easy enough game that you're going to At least if you're like me, you're not going to get through without practicing. So that was another really stupid death. But just remember, I'm a pro and I'm managing my rank. So, but yeah, I had to practice this part. This boss, once you spend a little time with it, it's not as intimidating as it seems. So especially when it turns into this little mech mode right here. If you can just anticipate where it's going to be and just start blasting it with special weapons, you can really kind of nullify all this stuff. You get a nice little break too. You get the break on this guy if you kill him as he's diving towards you. I'd say like 90% of the time I get it. I just didn't get it this time. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. I like that stage. And I think this is really where it starts kicking in. This stage is it's kind of more. It's still a fun stage. It's a very fun stage. It's just, I think, of the 5 stages, this is kind of the most unremarkable of the stages. And I pretty much have the same strategy here. If I see big boys, I just hit them with my special weapon. Stage 4 is got a lot of weapon pickups that help you keep you flush. Otherwise, you're going to be doing like I did a few times with stage 3, where you have to bomb. Wait till there's a lot of bullets on the screen and bomb so you can get your ammo back. Stage 3 and stage 5 don't have any ammo pickups, so you kind of have to get used to that. Especially if you're going to be corny and just alpha striking with a special special weapon, the pierce laser. It's too good. I have a little bit of trouble with these guys because, again, I don't use my focus fire as much as I should. It's just kind of a bad habit. You definitely should focus fire more with this. Although I did read if you get close enough, the unfocused fire and the wide shot is actually does a little bit more damage. But I'm definitely not going to do that in this run. I'm not going to worry about getting close. Now these little guys, even with this weak shot, focus fire takes care of it pretty well. And this guy, again, I just blast him. Hit him with the special weapon. Don't even worry about it. And this is one of those parts where I suspect that they added a little delay in there to kind of sync up the action with what's going on in the music track, which I really appreciate. I really like it when they, you know, talking about like game music and experiences. Shmups are kind of an interesting genre in that regard. You know, the whole, more or less, the whole speed of the game and the path of the game is kind of, you know, predetermined. So you can really take advantage of that and do some syncing with the music. That's something I've always been interested in. It happens from time to time, but sometimes games do it more than others, like this one does. And I think that's just a nice attention to detail, and it really adds a lot to the experience. This type of music isn't really my favorite type of music, but I think it works really well. You know, it's high energy, keeps you focused, it's well produced and composed in a lot of ways. So I think this is, you know, here I'm talking about the game music again. I said I wouldn't do that. All right, this boss is, I had to spend a lot of time on this boss. This guy was tough for me. He's got the 5 phases. This part, I've kind of, when I go through and I practice these bosses, I practice them with 1 life and no bombs, and just make sure I can get my way through. That's not necessarily going to be reflected in gameplay that you're watching, because especially when I got to this part, you know, this was just supposed to be like a warm-up run. I wasn't expecting to really get anywhere, and here I am at the stage 4 boss with 4 extends. Well, 3 now. You get the idea. So I start, sweating a little bit, and I start thinking to myself, oh my god, I can actually do something here. And then I just get crazy with the special weapon and boss. Speaking seriously about managing rank, that's a great place to manage rank, because if you have too high of a rank, when it starts sucking you in and all those bullets, then it starts shooting pink bullets at you at the same time, it's just too stressful. We want a nice low stress experience. And then this is stage 5. Stage 5, I think this, looking at Steam time, it took me like, maybe 11 hours to do this. And I'd say, 10 and a half hours were spent grinding out stage 5. This was a proper tough stage, at least for me. One of the main reasons that this is tough, and I suspect maybe it wouldn't be for the other ones, but the wide shot is pretty weak. And a lot of the popcorn enemies take multiple hits. I hate this phase, so I just blast it with the special. But yeah, with the wide shot, they just keep, like, look at these little popcorn guys, take 2 or 3 hits to go down. These guys, I mean, this is an easy pattern, but you're going to get quickly overwhelmed if you don't really start engaging at this point with the bomb system. You're going to want to just, bomb and get your ammo back, because that's the only way to get your ammo back on this level. There's no ground-based enemies, so there's no pickups. And these guys, I don't want to waste my special. I know you can get a lot of points for using your special there, but I try to save it because I try to stock as much as I can for the second half, and especially the final boss. These guys just blast them. Don't even worry about this part. Easy. Get them out of here. We don't want them. Yeah, that was just an absolutely stupid death. This is where my nerves are definitely getting to me. I can't blame that on looking away or something. I just started getting nervous and started doing stupid stuff. This boss is actually the one nice part about using wide shot. You have to kill all the little eyeballs after you knock the 4 things over to get the break. But if you have the wide shot, you can just hang out in the really easy spot in the middle, and it'll just take care of all the eyeballs for you. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely see from, something like this. I'm not a super player at all, but I was able to get the 1 credit clear. It's kind of a tough game, and it was a lot of fun. So, I really think that, like, it's going to take different amounts of time for different people, but with enough persistence, as long as you play with the system that they provide you, and go for these medals and go for these extends, I think the game becomes a lot easier than you think it is from a first blush. You can see my special energy, getting really low special ammo. And you might think, well, it took you a while to bomb there, and that's because you'll notice a lot in stage 5. I run out of special ammo, but I don't realize it because I'm not looking. I love this part. Is awesome. You're supposed to, whatever these red meteor things are, you're supposed to, break enough of them to get to 100%. That's not happening. I'm not doing that. So I'm just dodging. At this point, I'm saying to myself, I can't believe I'm dodging. And then, as soon as I say that, I instantly die. So, don't say that. It's also the point where my son was standing behind me, and he started to pay attention and started cheering me on. And standing over my shoulder, making me nervous. But yeah, talking about the music again, I know I shouldn't do that. It's not very interesting, but to most people. But when the energy really kicks up there, it's a nice moment. But it was especially impactful in this run because, again, this was just a practice run that turned into this. And I got to that point, which I've had to practice quite a bit in training mode. And I got to that point, and I had 3 lives, or 3 extends, and I just started sweating. As soon as the music kicked in, I started sweating. And that was a really cool moment. That's kind of what's nice about games like this, is you can have a really cool moment. Um, and it's what makes these kind of games memorable, is those little moments, I think. Where you can really, you enjoy the experience and it really gets you on like a visceral level. Make some great memories. Some of my favorite 1cc's are games that were super hard and having me just banging my head against the wall, and I finally get over it. Alright, here's the final boss. So this part's, to me, I had to practice the guy a lot. This pattern is very hard to dodge, and I can't believe I dodged it. Most of this final boss, I was just saying to myself, I can't believe I'm doing this. I was kind of having like an out-of-body experience for quite a bit. These first patterns, this third pattern is pretty easy actually. I've started to panic, and I've lost all of my special ammo. So now I have to rely on this super weak wide shot for my damage. Now what you're supposed to do is you can bait these big orbs to run into the boss, and they'll do a ton of damage. But I say you in like a general sense. I'm definitely not doing that. And then you see I took two deaths right at the end, and I couldn't believe it. I made it this far, and I completely blew it with 2 stupid deaths, not using my bombs. So now I have 5 bombs, now 4 bombs. Something about this boss is the boss counter bombs. So when you bomb, it counter bombs, which gives it an extra second of invulnerability, so you can't really exploit it. And it also doesn't give you any ammo. So you don't have any special ammo. And I'm just panic bombing here. Just 4 in a row. And then I look down on my bombs. I have 1 bomb left. I have no special ammo. And I have to lock in. And as I'm doing this, it's like I'm looking at myself from the outside. I couldn't believe that my fingers just took over, and I just started muscle memory just getting through this. I don't know what it was, 10, 15 seconds, but it felt like, 20 minutes getting through there. And I could not believe that I was able to do something like that. And I even got the extend right at the end, in case I was going for the true last boss. But that was a lot of fun. I think if you play this, you can have a lot of fun too. You're definitely probably not more skilled than me, so I think that you'll be able to enjoy it, and I hope you have fun with the game too.